And if you're using willpower, if you're repressing these urges, if you're running from them, you're not dealing with the conflict and you're not actually going to achieve long-term freedom. Hey guys, Coach Josh here. I'm excited about this video today, guys, because this is going to be one of the most important videos on my channel to date. Because today I'm going to be talking about long-term prevention. And this is something that most guys struggle with. It's easy for a guy to go a month clean, 3 months clean, or even a year clean and, get that positive momentum built up, but all of a sudden they just go in relapse. So we're going to talk about why that happens. We're going to talk about what actual long-term recovery and freedom from this addiction looks like, and I'm going to give you an actionable way to get there and start making progress to that spot starting today. All right, so for those who don't know, I'm Coach Josh, founder of Purpose Over Pleasure, and it is my purpose to help men overcome their addiction to paying for sex so ultimately they can live a fulfilling life. Now, let's talk about why people go in relapse after building up a lot of positive momentum for themselves. That can be a very demoralizing thing for a lot of guys. They're putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of mental bandwidth to be able to stay clean for a period of time. And, they fall back to these temptations and they feel like it's wasted time, wasted energy. Today, we're going to talk about why that happens and how you can prevent that and really achieve long-term freedom from this addiction. So the best place to start is by understanding why people go out and act out like that. So I like to describe it as the snowball effect. So the snowball effect is as follows, right? You might be going clean for a period of time, doing good, not acting out, and maybe you get a little pain agent in your life. Maybe you're a little more stressed or whatever that might look like for you. So what happens is maybe you're going to go and start drinking a little bit more. Maybe you're going to go and start smoking a little bit more. Maybe you're going to go and watch, pornography more often and binge in that. It always starts small and minute. And most people don't make the connection with those actions and the pain agent and maybe drinking more, smoking more, watching pornography more, and having that be a catalyst to have them go in relapse. Most people can't make that connection. And honestly, you can't blame them. Most people, they go in relapse and all they see is the relapse, but they don't fail to see what led up to that. So like I said, the snowball effect, it starts small with something like that. And maybe a week later, now they're going onto escort websites and they're cruising around for like 2-3 hours, searching for women to talk to or texting them, whatever. And maybe they're like, okay, I can't do this. That's bad. They snap out of the trance and they go do something else. So this is all leading up to a relapse. And this is important to understand because as you can see here, it's gradually intensifying. That's why I call it the snowball effect. And, once it gets to that point, people should be cautious of that because you're right on the verge of relapse because there might be a day where that pain agent that from before, is beating down on you and you got to do something about it. Maybe you don't have that mental bandwidth or your willpower is not there and you just can't force recovery on yourself that day and you might go and act out. So that's typically what happens, and simply having the awareness of that being a possibility is honestly going to help a lot of guys stop it from becoming this big relapse and stop it when it's small and minute. So let's talk about long-term recovery and what exactly that looks like, because I do not believe most guys know what exactly that looks like, because I can tell you it's not a number. The number of days that you've gone clean does not matter. That is completely irrelevant. It might be cool to go, your first month clean, first 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But the real benchmark for long-term recovery and legit freedom from this addiction is as follows. You need to get to the point where, if you were to get an intrusive thought, if you were to think about, acting out, you would get filled with negative emotions. You would be repulsed by it. You would not want to be doing it at all. It grosses you out or whatever. You want to get to the point where you're only experiencing negative emotions from the thought of it. That is actionable. That is something that every single person can do and work towards. And I'll give you something that you can use to get to that point. The reason why that's important is because most men are fighting a losing battle. They're forcing recovery upon themselves. They're using every bit of willpower when they get an urge, and they're just trying to stop, or they're repressing, and they're just not facing, the urge, and they're just running from it. All those things are not solving the root issue. They're not getting you to the point where you only experience negative emotions at the thought of it. You're just trying to run from that temptation. Now, there's a time and a place for that. But what people are experiencing is cognitive dissonance. So what I mean by that is, the logical part of your brain, right, wants recovery. You see how it's hurting your life. You see how it's holding you back from being the man you want to be. You see how it's hurting your relationships. You see all these things that you shouldn't be doing. And logically, acting out does not make any sense at all. And you know that. And you would choose recovery any day. But you got another part of you that's, equal in strength that wants to act out. That's your emotional, instinctual side of you. That's your body. You get these urges and it wants to get a need met. So that is, two polar opposites fighting with each other constantly. That's the internal conflict that's happening in every single guy. And if you're using willpower, if you're repressing these urges, if you're running from them, you're not dealing with the conflict and you're not actually going to achieve long-term freedom. You might get a couple quick wins. You might go a month clean, 2 months clean, 3 months clean, a year clean. But long-term, you're never going to go back. That's not happening. You need to get to the point where your mind, that logical side of you, and your body, that instinctual, emotional side of you, are working in unison, in alignment with one another, so they can continue, in every part of you is fixated on recovery and staying that way. So many people don't understand that. So many people don't implement that, and I can't blame them. There's not resources like this. I swear I'm the only one on YouTube talking about this. So it's not your fault, right? And I understand why people want to, repress and run from it and use willpower just to get a couple days clean, but it's a losing battle at the end of the day. So let's talk about, the actionable thing that I can give you right now that you can implement when you get an urge and, on a consistent basis, so you can rewire your brain and your body to work together. So what I like for you to do is start to implement a little bit better self-talk, especially when you get an urge, because most guys, when they get an urge, their self-talk looks like this. They get an urge, their body, their emotional, instinctual side of them is like, okay, I want to go do this. And your mind is like, nah, I shouldn't do this. Like, that's bad. It's going to hurt my life. It's not good for me. But your body's like, I don't care. I still feel this way. I still want to go and do this. So your mind and your body are not communicating on the same level. And that's why you're experiencing that cognitive dissonance and internal conflict. So what you need to do is, like I said, get those two in alignment and in harmony with one another. And the way you do this is by speaking in terms of visions. And I like to do this by having a positive and negative motivator. So think about it this way, right? If you're to go talk to a woman or your girlfriend or your wife, you can't be purely logical around them, right? That's not speaking their language. You gotta tap into those emotions and that emotional side of you so you can give them, those spikes and those dips to keep them hooked and speak their language, right? The same way applies to your mind and your body. They're speaking two different languages right now. That's why you're experiencing cognitive dissonance. And it's because, that logical side cannot communicate with the emotions. Your body's still going to want to go, even if you tell yourself it doesn't make any sense. So you need to have them communicate on the same language. It sounds woo-woo, but it's really not. If you were to speak in visions, and what I mean by that, if you were to talk and really visualize what your life would look like with recovery and what your life would look like if you were to continue to go down this rabbit hole of destruction and just give in to these urges. So let's find your positive motivator first. What would that look like for you? What would you stand to gain if you were to quit paying for sex? Now, for some guys, you're going to say, improve clarity. I'm going to be able to get after my work and really put everything that I have into it. Maybe for relationships, maybe they're struggling in the current one that they're in, or even, they don't have relationships and they want to continue to put themselves out there and grow as a person. What is your motivator? What would you stand to gain if you were to stop paying for sex? What would your life look like? Really visualize that and understand that on a deep level, right? I need you to do this. I need you to write this down on the sheet of paper that I told you to. And if you haven't already, go and get it, because this is a great, great exercise. So once you got a clear understanding of your positive motivator and you got real clear on that, and I want you to talk about your negative motivation, or your negative motivator. And that's hard for some people. That's extremely difficult for some men. And I understand. When I ask that question to people, sometimes they go, "Oh man, I don't even know. Like, what would my life look like if I were to continue to do this?" I couldn't tell you. I need you to fight that and really just be specific with what your life could look like if you're to continue to act out. And it's not a pretty vision, it's kind of hurt and be kind of sad when you think about that, but it's necessary because humans are naturally risk averse. You don't want to take risks, and if you do, it's got to be calculated. So that's going to scare yourself into recovery. And if you pair these two things together, you're going to have a deadly reason to pick recovery day in, day out. That not only applies to the logical side of you, but to the emotional side as well. So that's how you get those two in harmony. And the way that you can use this and get to the point where you only experience negative emotions at the thought of an urge or a thought of acting out would be if you were to get presented with an urge, or you have, those intrusive thoughts, run that through your brain real quick. This is why I'm doing it. This is the benefits I'm going to be getting. This is why I don't want to be doing it. This is why I can't choose to go down this path. And that's going to be able to have your mind and your body work in unison with one another. And now you're not going to be forcing recovery upon yourself. Every bit of you, every part of you is going to be wanting recovery, wanting the benefits. And that is huge, because I'm telling you right now, most people do not have that. They do not have that. And this is a key principle to be able to achieve long-term prevention and go for the rest of your life knowing that you're not going to go back and fall into those urges. So shift the perspective in your brain that if you're going to stop paying for sex, you're just going to be repressing and not, fulfilling these sexual needs. No, that's not going to be the case, because once you get to this point and every bit of you is working towards recovery, because your mind and body are now in alignment with one another, you're not going to be, forcing, just the urge to go away and repressing the sexual side of you. It's not going to be the case anymore. So what I just gave you is a very, very effective tool to be able to help you get over these urges and stop forcing recovery. That is something that I don't want for people. I want it to come easily. And that can happen. I know right now you're probably thinking, man, I've been doing this for years and it's been a fight, it's been a battle, and I've been losing day in, day out. Once you start doing this, and once you realize that you need to stop fighting it and suppressing that side of you and get your mind and body to work together, is when you're going to make huge strides. I see it all the time in people that I've spoken to. This is the catalyst for long-term prevention. If you want legitimate freedom from this addiction and don't want to be counting your days and months since the last time you've gone, this is how you get there. This is the start. If you're aligned with this video and you like this sort of content and you want to take this a step further, what I encourage you to do is go to the link below and book a one-to-one with me. Have our free consult call. I'm only taking in so many people this summer, but if you're someone that really does want to quit and break free of this cycle and get to the point where you've achieved long-term freedom from this addiction, I can help you get there. And, if you want to join a community of like-minded guys who are taking steps every day towards recovery, also go to the link in the comments and join our Discord community. It's a great place to get accountability, learn something new, and keep yourself aligned with the process of recovery. So with that said, I hope this helped you. I hope this gives you value. Please do the exercise I just told you, because it can be very, very beneficial. And this is just another tool in the toolbox that you can implement on a day-to-day basis to help yourself get to the point of long-term freedom.